Now, what I was telling you about those reflections. So I'm going to develop underneath this wave a little bit so that you can see how I will get these reflections.
Now we're going to get to Lisa Skelly in San Diego. You're up, let's see, it's about 9 o'clock there in San Diego. Oh,
Yep.
let's see. You've probably been up for hours.
Yeah, I'm actually in Crystal Cove, which is between Laguna Beach and Newport Beach.
Oh,
And I'm
love
actually
Crystal.
camping right now.
Oh, you are camping. Wow, you're a real
Hmm.
trooper to do this. And I didn't know you could camp in Crystal Cove.
Yeah, it's awesome. They have an awesome campground looking out at Abalone Point, actually. I was trying to set up actually earlier, a little bit closer to the water so you guys could see the water, but the noise from Coast Highway was a little too much. So,
Okay.
I,
Well, Crystal Cove has some really wonderful history,
yeah,
beautiful old beach shacks, lots of color, and they've done a great job of preserving that part of classic 1950s California.
that's very true. It's really a cool spot if you ever get a chance to get over here.
Yeah, well, I have been, but I've never painted there. But we'll have to go do that. Lisa, I'm going to let you take over and go ahead and teach.
All right, so I'm going to turn my camera around so you can see what I'm looking at or my painting. And give me 1 second while I do that. All right, so here is my painting. And what you're looking at is I've sketched this out already and I've put in my horizon and I've determined my light in my sky. So I was recently out painting at the Wedge, which is another really amazing spot, a big surf spot when we get a big swell, which we're getting this weekend again. The waves are really big at the Wedge. And so it's really fun to go down there and do research and to just watch the waves and also stand out there and paint the waves. So I've got my light determined. The light was late afternoon, and you'll see there was this glow over here on the right. And so I've already painted this painting, and I'm going to show you how I worked on attempting this and how the stages that I take to get to the fun part, which is going to be here. So I've determined my focal point, which where the wave rolls over and where this part is all lit up, and this will be the lightest part of the wave where the surf is splashing and rolling over here, and you're going to see how I do that. But I wanted to determine my sky first. So in the light in the sky, and everything in my painting that is not this white splashing surf is going to be darker than this focal point right here. But underneath here is going to be really dark. So I'm going to start by getting, I don't know if you can see I've lightly sketched in my wave and just a little bit of composition. There's another wave that has already rolled over in the foreground, a little bit of the beach down here. And so I'm going to take the color of the water in the distance. And the cool thing about this particular board that I'm using, I just want to mention that this is a ampersand pastel board in a sand color. So this is actually the color of the board that you see right here, this taupe kind of sand color. And
Okay.
so this is my favorite surface to work on. It's textured. It allows me to have lots of layers, but I do work from a light touch to a heavier touch. So the fun thing about this is that if you're using your tools and your support, that you're going to let the tools do the work. And so I'm going to show you by doing a little bit of water back here. And if I can't even emphasize how light my touch is going to be on the water back here, but I'm going to allow it to just drag over and catch the top of the sanded surface. And what happens is once I do a little bit more and a little bit more until I get the effect that I want, I'm going to have sparkle in the water without doing a whole lot of work. And so this is a really fun, I'm going to put a little bit more over here.
I guess
The
we
wave
should
is,
probably tell people you're using pastel.
I am using soft pastel, and I like a lot of different varieties of pastel. And I know you just had Pastel Live, so if they were watching that, they got a lot of information about pastels and the wonderful qualities of pastel and the vibrancy of pastel. So I'm going to gray out my distance a little bit. So I'm keeping this really, really light touch. I'm barely touching the surface to keep some real sparkle it back there in the water and allow the board to create this depth in the water back there without doing a lot. And I don't like my horizon super straight because it's not going to be, I mean, I like it straight. It has to be level because people will notice if your horizon's not level. But I do like to leave the edge not perfect because the distance isn't perfect. And there is a blurred line back there. So if I ever have to go back in, I think pastels are very forgiving. So I can go back in and fix that line a little bit, make sure that it looks level, make sure that everything looks good. And then this part is reflecting the sky. So this is my wave coming up and I'm going to follow the form. I'm going to follow the form with my pastels. So when I first start to develop my wave, this will be the darkest part. Now it's not always that way. There are rare times where the top of the wave is darker than the lower part of the wave. And I actually have seen that because I do a lot of research and I'm always out painting waves and seascapes and I love the ocean. So it is my favorite thing to paint. And so we have, yeah, yes.
I got to tell you something. Just, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think
Oh,
this is
please
cool.
don't.
The magic of technology, right? You're out camping and doing a broadcast from camping. And we just had somebody say that they're watching from Ningbo, China.
No
That's
kidding.
about the
Oh my
furthest
gosh.
distance that I think we've had on this. We've had hundreds of countries, but very
Oh,
cool.
how exciting. That is really exciting. Welcome from Ningbo, China. Did I say that right? I don't
Yep.
even know if I said that right.
Sorry
So
to interrupt you.
no, I think that's really great. That's pretty awesome. I'm honored that they're watching all the way from China. So we have in our wave, we are going to follow the form of the wave. So this particular wave is going to be going up and then rolling over. And so I want my pastel and the energy of that wave scooping up and rolling over. I'm going to follow that with my pastel. So this is like this is my brush stroke. And so if I'm painting in oil or watercolor or any other medium, this is like the tip of the paintbrush and my arm is the handle. And I'm going to go up and I'm going to create the energy of that wave going up and getting ready to roll over, but I want to capture that. And so I will do this often and just to get that magic of that wave rolling up and feeling that energy. So, and then I want this part on the bottom to be darker because it usually is. And I think when I get to the part where we're doing the shadows in the surf, in our waves are going to be when the surf is rolling over, it looks white, but as we know, there are so many other colors in our surf. There's going to be shadow and light on it, and we want to save the magic of the wave rolling over in this part right here to be our lightest part again. So there's a part up here in this part of the wave also that has a lot of light coming through generally. And because the light is coming from behind the wave, sort of at an angle, there is going to be some light coming through up here. And so the part about pastels that I find really fascinating too and really fun is that it's very forgiving. So I'll do a sort of a push and pull and a tug of war, sort of like a little bit of this and then back with the, to go back and forth with the energy that I'm trying to create. I can just keep going back and forth. And then this one's even a little lighter. And I'm going to get that top of that wave, that translucency that we want in the wave coming over right at the top of that wave. And then I'm going to continue to create movement in my wave, a little bit of blue, but a lot of times the wave part is going to be more green and more of a jade and turquoise than the distant water or the water that is in front of the wave. So you see that the water, when we get to this part, the water in front of the wave is going to be reflecting a lot of the sky. So you're going to see a lot more light in here and some really beautiful patterns that we can create in the water to express movement. And so this, I'm going to give you an impression of what I'm doing. I'm not going to complete and have a finished painting. At least I don't think I am. You never know. Like I could be. I'm getting faster and faster at this the more I do it. So you never know. I might be able to get an almost complete painting here. So
No
I
pressure.
like no pressure. So this is just a general shape of this wave coming up, and it's so fun if you can get out there and if you are near the ocean to get this, to be able to go out and do this research and see how these waves move, because the physics of a wave, a lot of people, they force the shape of the wave, and it's a very organic shape. And I do use my camera to capture a pleasing composition that I can translate, but I'm getting my information from the real light and the real what's really happening in it. But I will take a picture to get a beautiful composition and say, oh, I love the shape of this wave, and I'll use that as a design element. And so I think you have to use what you can to get the best painting, and to get a really beautiful painting, you have to sometimes use all of your tools. So this part of the wave is going to roll over. So this is going to have, there's oftentimes a little dark part where the wave rolls over because it's thick right there. And you're going to see a little bit of this green. This part attaches to the top here. So don't leave that out. You've got this part continues, this line continues. And so don't come back down here. You want this wave to continue, and we're going to go up into the sky with our surf too. So I'm going to show you how I roll over this wave. We're going to roll right over. I'm going to get this first. And the fun part is that this is going to be covered up, but this is just the beginning part. This is the initial lay-in. And I have this surf coming up here, this spray. So I'm going to have a shadow side of it, because it is a form. It has a top, a bottom, and a side. So the form in the front is going to be, I like to use the purple and blue grays. And I also like to try not to be formulaic. So I really want to look at what's really happening. But since I'm recreating a painting that I've already done, I kind of know what I had already done in that painting. And so the shadow side of our surf is going to have purples and blues in it. And I'm going to create a really fun shadow on this. This is where the surf is going to be. I'm going to use different blues and grays in here. And I'll adjust it accordingly. But this has to be darker because this is where the shadow side is. And then underneath here, we want this wave to sit down in the water. We do not want it floating. So there's going to be a dark line under here. There's going to be an edge under here. And it'll be varying shape underneath there, a varying line. It's a random line. It's not perfect. So I want to get that underneath because I want that sit right down in the water so it doesn't look like it's floating. And then I'm going to go back with some other blue-gray colors just to get some variation in there. And the trajectory of this wave when it rolls over and it hits the water is usually about the same angle that it's coming down. So about a 45-degree angle, and then another 45-degree angle back up. And so that's not always the way it is. You really have to look at what's happening the day that you're out there painting, or the image that you're recreating your wave from. But it's generally, you have a 45-degree angle of trajectory. So, and then, the waves, people can tell when I paint a wave where it is, because not just because there's certain landmarks, but because of the way the wave actually breaks. And so it's very fun to actually figure out what the wave is doing in your particular area and where you live, or from an image. So I'm going to use this green sunlight. So sunlight is going to hit the tops of here. And so I want to make sure to get a little bit of that kind of sunny part. And I'm going to just lightly shape this wave rolling over. And you can see how fun it is, that it is the fact that I'm using this pastel board and these soft buttery pastels, that it just catches the tops of the texture on this surface, which allows me to have very little effort and create these beautiful details without a lot of effort. And so that's really fun. And I'm going to get some more blue in there because I want this to be, I'm just going to keep developing it. And then if I don't like that I've lost that green edge, I can go back and do a little bit more at the top and do that. And so, and then we're going to get I like this. This is a little bit of warm white just to get the feeling of this part coming over. But I'm going to go back to that. I'm going to use that at the end, but you're going to see the magic happen when we shape this wave with the surf coming up. And so I'm going to save this one on the side. I usually have you can see here, I have like a little tray full of the colors that I'm using for this particular painting. I usually put that on the side, but if you saw my pastel box, which is below here, I try to keep my values and my colors from light to dark and my values from warm to cool on each side of the little dividers in my pastel box.
You're far too organized.
Yeah, not really, but thank you. So this part of the wave too is going to be dark, but I'm going to develop some of the surf in the right in front of the wave. So this part of the wave will be reflected also in the part of the water, the flat part of the water, and it's still turbulent. And so there are going to be some dark areas in here. And so I'm going to just put some random shapes, but this part of the water in front will have some dark reflections from the wave that is rolling up above it. And so, and it also comes down into that water because it is being lifted up out of that water. And then I'm going to go with another kind of a gray, purpley gray, and get in some different shapes. And you can start to create some patterns in the water, some oblique shapes in there, and then go back in with your water using different varying colors of blues and greens. And sometimes there's a lot of sage and gold in the water depending on what time of day it is, and this is really fun to create these patterns. This part of the water in front of the wave is going to be reflecting this surf. So in order to make this look realistic, we are going to have the energy of this wave crashing over and spraying off to the side is going to be reflected down here with not as white as the surf that's up here, but we are going to have some reflections coming down off of however we design this spray with our highlights. And so that's a really fun thing to remember, that you're going to get more realistic looking waves if you put that reflection down in here. Excuse me. And if you have the reflections from what's going on up in here is going to have little bits of it in here. This part here is going to be, again, another wave before it that is already rolled over. And so I'm going to do some random kind of shadow shapes in the front, and I'm going to leave it loose and I'm going to leave it fun because I want this to support this. I don't want this to be the focal point. And so I'm going to use some really fun shadow shapes, and then I'm going to design this so that I have some lines coming up to direct your eye toward the focal point. And so surprisingly, we have some sun right now because it's overcast all over the whole ocean, and now I'm getting some really some sunshine coming over my shoulder, which I was not expecting. But then we're outside and we are expecting the unexpected. So be ready for anything. So let me do a little bit more shadows in here. I'm going to put some more in here. I'm going to bring some of this over here behind, and I'm leaving it really loose. You can see a lot of the color of the board underneath, and that's going to be we're going to use this to our advantage because we're going to see more depth in the water. And since this is almost the color of sand that's underneath the water, and there is a lot of that's going to be pulled up into the wave, it's a great color to get those effects that we really like about painting waves, because there is sand underneath it all and within the wave as well. So I'm going to take some of this in the water and start creating some really fun kind of shapes in here. And in order for me to, I'm going to go across because I'm following the form again with my strokes. The pastel is going to do the work for me. I'm going to let the pastel do the work for me, the layering. And often, if I do need to blend anything, I often use the back of my pinky finger and just lightly move things around a little bit just to soften edges, because we want lost and found edges. We don't want all hard edges. We don't want all soft edges. And I'm going to define my horizon line a little bit more back here. Just lightly get that feeling back there. And there will be some turquoise back there sometimes. So these little waves that are going to be happening back there are also very fun. And again, if I don't like it, I'll go back over it and smooth it out a little bit or diminish it a little bit so it's not too taking away anything from my focal point. So, but that's looking pretty good back there in the distance. So in here also, it's going to get even more muted. I'm going to use a more of a light sage color, and this sea glass color is going to be kind of in the surf that's in front of this wave that has already crashed over, and this sea glass over sand, because the water is thinner here, it's not as deep here, and I'm going to just try and get a little bit of that color underneath, and then I'm going to develop some patterns in here as well. And you can start to see the design and how this is all developing, and I hope that you're feeling the energy and the movement in the water that we're trying to create here. My sand on the shore, on the beach too, I'm going to do a little indication of that, just because there's going to be wet sand right here at the edge, so that'll be a darker color, and then there's going to be some dry sand, and oftentimes I will direct that wet sand back toward my focal point and get some lines in there that you often see when the surf is coming in and out. You're going to see lines in the sand, and we're going to direct our viewers' attention back. And it's all about, keeping your viewer, you want to keep your viewer engaged and explore your paintings. And so I can even do that with these kind of brush strokes here. I can't get down here. There's a little trough here that keeps me from getting too close. But the magical part, we're going to start to develop this. Now, underneath, you're going to see a white edge on your wave, usually when the wave rolls over, depending on where you are. But there's also a shadow underneath that. And that, again, is a blue or gray, or I'm going to try this one. No, I'm going to use this one. So this is a little bit lighter value, but it's almost like you've had too much coffee and you're going to not have a perfect edge. It's going to be you're kind of creating a little bit of a jittery edge.
How'd you know I had too much coffee?
I don't know. We usually all do. I did not have enough coffee, but I'm going to put all my energy into the painting. So
did you have to make coffee over a campfire this morning?
I did. Well, I actually have a really cool Sprinter van. And so I have a tea kettle and I do a pour over. And so it's pretty fun. I could turn this over. You could see. And Deborah's here with me this morning. She's so
we
great.
Want to see. We want to see.
I'm at the campground. At the campground. Oh, I'll turn it too where you can see the water. So the water's over there.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
There's the ocean. There's people walking their dogs.
So it's kind of like they've got a little RV camping area there, huh?
Look there's Deborah Hughes.
Hey, Deborah Hughes.
Say hi, Deborah Hughes. And then there's the Sprinter van right there.
Oh, cool.
So
does it have a bed in it and a kitchen and all that stuff?
Yeah, right. And a bathroom and everything. So it's pretty awesome. It's like riding on air. So it's a really fun, and we're just down the street. We only live 10 minutes from here. And it's really a fun vehicle to go just local, like a staycation, and get to the beach and get to paint and then have a bathroom with me at all times. So that's always really nice.
Well, and probably really great for painting.
It is. It is. I got everything. I got a little kitchen, got snacks. It's awesome. So we're going to get back to this wave because I know that's what they're all here for, to see how
Yep.
we're going to create this energy. Excuse me. And I'm going to start putting a shadow edge on where our surf is going to roll over. And so you can use gray blue or gray purple or gray. It's the thing about pastels is they might have a number to them, but they don't have ultramarine. They don't have, you can tell that it's an ultramarine, perhaps a light version of ultramarine like this, but they don't say it on there. So you have to choose. It's kind of fun because you have to choose your color based on what you see and say, okay, this looks like in my pastel box, it looks like, this is what I want to represent, what I'm looking at, and get that light. And sometimes I put a few little pieces coming down off of there. And then I'm going to take, this is where the magic happens, everybody. So watch this. This is where we take our warm white and we're going to start going along the top of that edge.
Let me stop you, Lisa.
Yeah.
Let's bring your camera up just a little bit because there's some
Okay.
blockage.
Okay.
There we go. Good, good,
Is
good,
that
good,
better?
good. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
All right.
couldn't
Now
see
let's
that
watch
on
the
there.
magic happen.
This is the magic part. This is the fun part. So you can do, now I use all different sides of my pastel. I'll use the point, which is really not a point. It's all rounded. And people wonder, how did you get that detail with this chunk of pastel? And so I'll use the edge of it. I'll use the side of it. I'll use the flat part of it. I'll use all the different parts of the pastel. And so I'm going to create some lost and found edges here. So this can even be, like where the surf is not perfect and there's not going to be a hard edge on it the whole time. And I'm going to bring a little bit down. I just painted Eric for a friend of mine. It's on my Instagram, but she owns a restaurant on Balboa Island. Oops. And I painted a huge wave on her chalkboard. It's 4 feet by 10 feet.
Oh my.
And I did it with real pastel. So you could imagine how much pigment is on her chalkboard right now, but it was really fun. I did a time lapse of it. And so it's probably the biggest wave I've ever painted in real pastel. It's about 4 feet by 10 feet. It's pretty cool.
What's your Instagram, Lisa?
Lisa Skelly Art.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well,
so
we're all going to go there and look. Well, it's interesting when you add that top light edge, it really
look at
creates
that.
a three-dimensionality.
Isn't that awesome? And then we're going to come down here and now we're going to hit the tops of like where the surf in shadow here. This is the top of our wave and this is where the highlight is. And then I'm going to show you some techniques with pastel in a minute to get this energy in there. But honestly, this is one of my favorite parts. And I will take this flat edge of the pastel and I will lightly go off the top of the wave where the wind would be pushing back this surf on it. And so I'm hardly touching the wave, the board, the pastel board. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to roll this over with some of the white surf and just getting this technique, just because of the tools I'm using, I can get all this detail on here with very little effort. And if I want to take some of that spray, and I'll exaggerate it a little bit so you can see it. If I want to take some of that and I want to also maybe come down a little bit, have some of this rolling over like a water, this is like a waterfall coming over. And so if I want to get some more, I'll dot and I'll dash and dot and kind of just use different sides of my pastel. And if I don't like something, I'll take the back of my finger and kind of soften it a little bit. But this too, this edge here is an important edge. And oftentimes this part will come up a little bit. And you might even have a few little pieces that come off the top there that just are magical. But if you do it too much, then it looks more contrived. It's not as natural. We want it to be random, like we would see it in nature. And so I can also go back with my blue and get more shadow under there, I can push back into that wave, the part that's rolling over. I can push back into it a little bit and get a shadow on there so it looks more realistic and more three-dimensional, and because it is three-dimensional. And then I can go back even and get some more light into this lightest part of the wave and get a little bit of that aqua green color right at the very height and the very, very apex of the top of this wave. I can get some lighter colors in there to show you the thinnest part of the wave. And I'm leaving it very impressionistic today because I'm just doing a demo and I'm not getting too involved in all of the little details. But also this is kind of fun too, is to bring it back over here and get some of that light in there. So I don't want all of this to be so perfect over here. There's going to be some that comes down and gets an edge, catches an edge here and there. But this part, we want to, I'm right in the way. I'm going to do a little left-handed so I'm not in the way of the camera. And let's see if I can do it left-handed a little bit. But I want this to go up into the water because this trajectory too is really fun. But I will direct it back in this direction so that your eye comes back in and not off of the painting and not off the side of the painting. And I might need to get some different colors in my shadows in here. And then on this wave to make it look more realistic. Now I'm in bright sunlight, which I do not usually paint in bright sunlight, but it's kind of fun because it's all lit up for you guys. So it's nice to see. And I'm going to soften a little bit of this. Get this coming up. But it's kind of fun to leave it impressionistic and you get that feeling of that painterly feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And even some of this might come back up into the surf. Now, what I was telling you about those reflections, so I'm going to develop underneath this wave a little bit so that you can see how I will get these reflections back in to the water down here. And I won't use as bright as that warm white, but these reflections will be in the surf down below. And you'll see that even though you might not notice it, you're intentionally putting these in, you're going to notice it when you step back away from the painting, that this reflections, and even if it goes around like this a little bit, you just get some of those highlights down there.
Oh, that's nice because the panel, the ampersand panel, is doing a lot of the work for you because it's toned already.
I know, that's what I love about them. They actually just asked me to, they want to be one of my sponsors. So that's really fun. And I'm like, okay, I think that's awesome. They're going to give me free panels just because I like them so much. So that's fun. I'm going to keep developing a little bit of push and pull, like those push me pull me's. And what was that movie that had the push me pull me's? Was it Dr. Dolittle way back with Rex Harrison, I think? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
dating yourself.
I am totally dating myself. I was a really little kid. I have a good memory. So then we want to get some of this color too back in here. So we're going to do some of this shape in here, or some of this color in here. So we get some of this in here, and then I'm going to do some design in the water here. And I usually have this edge is not going to be so see-through right at the base of that wave. So I'm going to pull some of that back up in there. And you've got that, it's good to pull some of the sky down into the water here, because this is reflecting, what's above it. There's going to be parts of that are going to be in there. And I want to get some movement in there. So I might have, pieces of the surf, coming up in here. and creating some movement and energy. This is what it's about. And it's not just waves that you're going to try and capture energy in a moment in time where the energy of this wave is most beautiful. You're going to capture it you can capture it in your clouds. You can capture it in the wind, in the trees. So it's not just waves. I like to paint waves. But I use this in all sorts of, in all different subjects. I will use the part where you're capturing energy with wind, and I'll push into the trees, and you'll deconstruct edges to get movement into them. And people, like, you'll deconstruct part of them if they're in motion. So it's not just waves I'm showing you in waves, but this can be translated to all subjects and all mediums.
I want to point out to people too that the reason you're getting that glow in the light is because there's a dark over it and a dark under it. So that when you put darks next to a light, you're going to amplify the effect of light.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And that is my intention. And so having a plan is really key. So having a plan for your painting and for how you're going to execute that painting is really smart. I mean, it's fun to fly by the seat of your pants sometimes, but you're going to have more success or more chance of success if you actually plan out what you're doing. So this is darker than the white. It might not seem like it, but it is, or it might seem like it. But I'm going to just hit the tops of that surf, that wave that has already come back, and I might put some pieces that kind of are directing your eye up into this area here. And I want to weigh this down. So this edge here where the shadow is, this also needs some weight underneath it. And I'm going to use not as dark as here because it's not that deep of water closer to the shore where this wave has rolled over. It's going to be it's probably a blue, and I can always soften it. So if I go a little too dark, I can always go back. And so I'm going to use this. This is a little darker than oh, that's good though. That's going to be good. And I'm going to do a random edge underneath here where this wave is hitting, rolling over, and we want to weigh that down. And even up here on the surf, when we get close to this sand, these little white edges where the surf is thinned out also has a little bit of a shadow underneath it. And that's going to help you really feel like you're representing that scene accurately because you've put all the sides to it. So you have a top, a bottom, and sides. So that's, if that makes sense. I'm trying to paint and talk at the same time. Yeah. So, and I'm going to put some highlights. Let me get some of this lavender into the front a little bit, into this shapes in here, because you got all sorts of beautiful shapes. You got aquas and lavenders and blues, and the fun part about research is that you get to watch these waves and see what they do, and then go out there and paint them is pretty awesome. I love my job.
Well, you also have a gallery. You and you and your partner have a gallery. So I want to talk about that with Deborah Hughes.
Oh, there's really sweet of you to mention that. Thank you very much, Eric. We have the Hughes Skelly Gallery on Balboa Island in Newport Beach, California. And we represent some of the top plein air artists in the country, which Deborah founded in 1998. And I took over almost 5 years ago. She's entrusted me to be the steward of her legacy, but we still do everything together because it's much more fun to do things together than it is on your own. And we have such a like-minded vision. But we represent a lot of the artists that you actually have videos of. We have Dan Marshall, we have Jim McVicker, who's won plein air salon competition. We just added Kathleen Hudson and Susie Baker, and Mike Hernandez is a gouache artist that we've added. We have Randy Sexton and John Budison and Camille Priswatic. I know she's one of your favorites, and she's always out there blazing a trail Kim Lordier, the very first pastel artist that I ever started following, and now I get to represent her, is pretty serendipitous and an honor. So Kim is fabulous, and I have learned a lot from her over the years. So uh, she's one of my favorites, and she's just a fabulous artist and a friend too. So we've become friends actually over the years. And all of our artists too. I mean, Michael Obermeyer, who's now the president of the California Art Club, he just took over that position. Mark Fellman, who has done a video with you, I know I've seen his interview with you, which is pretty fabulous. And he's such a promoter of the gallery and so great at what he does. And he's come a long way since I first met him. He is really making great strides. I know there was just an article in Plein Air magazine, which our gallery's on the back cover of this issue of Plein Air magazine. And Mark Fellman and Mark Shasha and Aaron Schur, they're all in our gallery, and there's a great article about them before we went to Plein Air Convention, which I saw you at recently. There's a great article about them painting in Capitol Reef. It was fabulous. They did so well. And so Kathleen Hudson and of course Daniel Marshall's our only watercolor artist, but he just won a bunch of awards in Snowmass and at our invitational, which was our 17th annual Just Plen Fun. And next year we have some really big names coming to our invitational: Carl Bretsky, Kathleen Hudson, Susie Baker. So we've got already quite a roster for next year. And but it's an honor to represent the artists that I get to represent. And I hope you'll come visit, Eric, because we've got to give you the VIP tour.
Yeah, I'd like that very much. Well, maybe I'll bring my motorhome out. You've got me intrigued about camping at Crystal
Right?
Cove.
Oh, it's pretty awesome. And I actually
hard to find the time when I have to show up here every day.
See, but you could film from here, just like I did.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. Do that on location. So you can see I'm starting to develop this surf, and I'm trying to keep it soft. And because I have this bright sunlight on my painting too, it's not, I'll have to look at it in the studio later to see if it all makes sense, because I don't usually paint in this bright sunlight. But I would get some shapes in here and just some really beautiful movement in the water here. Maybe
Hey, Kim Lordier is watching. Hey, Kim.
She is. Oh, hi, Kim.
Good thing you mentioned her and didn't forget her. You'd be in hot water.
I know.
She'd be leaving the gallery.
I've got Deborah making sure I don't forget anybody. But if I did forget anybody, I apologize. But go on our website and you'll see all of our fabulous artists.
Yeah, so somebody said go on the road live, Eric. Okay, I'll just quit my job and do that. Yeah.
Well, we would love. Okay, so so as you can see, I've got some good design in here. Well, in my opinion, I've got some good design in here, and I'm really liking the direction. And so I can't reach this bottom part, so I'm going to lift this up just a little bit, and I'm going to try and develop or design this foreground shape a little bit. And
we've only got about 3 more minutes, and so you may not have time to do too much on that, but
I'm going to
nice. So
just
you get
do
that
some
wet sand look.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll do a little bit of that, and then we can do whatever you want, Eric. After this, you can let me know what else you'd like me to talk about, or if I've missed anything. And so I want to get that shadow underneath there too, underneath this little line here, this surf in the sand here, and I can design a pretty cool shape and leave some of the sand coming through too, because it does, and it gets really thin there.
It's beautiful colors.
Thank you.
Why don't you come back on screen so we can see you? Everybody, thumbs up and applause for Lisa Skelly. Beautiful job on that, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to turn this around, but I have a feeling I'm going to be backlit, so I might want to turn myself.
There you go.
I have a feeling I'm going to be in. Am I in shadow? I think I am.
You are. Why don't you turn around so we can see?
I think I'm going to turn this around so I'll be in sunlight.
There we go.
I have my painting behind me. There we go.
Your chin is in sunlight. Oh, there we go. Well, Lisa,
Yeah.
it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. You're an amazing artist. You've inspired a lot of people, and we're going to have you on the next Pastel Live because you're doing such a great job.
Well, thank you so much. I'd be honored. I truly would.
All right. So we have put I think we've put Lisa's information, her website, in the comments section. It's Hughes, Hues, Skelly, Skelly.
Huse.
Huse. Oh boy, I'm sorry. Hughes Skelly Gallery, and it's in Balboa Island. So you guys need to check it out. They've got some great things in there.
It's
Lisa,
right there in
thank
my
you
head.
so much for being on today. Any final thoughts or words?
Oh, just come visit me if you're in the area. I'm going to Sonoma Plein Air. This will be my 3rd year at Sonoma Plein Air. So if you live up in Northern California, come and visit me at Sonoma Plein Air. I'd love to see you. And this is my 1st year invited to Laguna Plein Air Invitational. And so it's my inaugural year, and I'm super excited. I've been working toward this. It's a big milestone for me. So if you're in Laguna, beginning of October, please come see me and say hi and see all the fabulous artists. We
I
are
know
a huge fan.
I'm so angry at Laguna because I've been invited as well, but they always do it right in the middle of my fall color week. So I'm going to have to ask them to reschedule.
Well, it'd be a pleasure to paint alongside you, Eric. So
well, it'd be a lot of fun. I could learn a lot from you, Lisa. Thank you so much for being on today.
It's my pleasure.
Have you ever wondered how some artists get such realistic quality in their work? You know, unbelievably beautiful portraits, stunning figures, and realistic-looking still lifes or florals? Painting or drawing realism takes your work to a whole new level. Whether you want tight, carefully rendered realistic paintings, or looser, more impressionistic realism, most high-level artists will tell you that painting is a skill that anyone can learn. If you follow a process, you can paint beautiful, realistic artwork. But where do you learn? You could spend $3,000 or more to attend a live workshop or convention, or you can learn from the world's finest realists from home for a fraction of the cost. At Realism Live, the world's first virtual online realism conference, you'll get 3 days of world-class artists demonstrating their techniques and processes. This is a comprehensive conference covering all the subjects you want to learn in portraiture, figures, landscapes, still life, cityscapes, color mixing, and more. Taught by the world's leading artists. Not only will you learn their techniques, you'll have a chance to interact with instructors and get your questions answered. And you'll get to know other artists personally through our breakout sessions. And we'll even paint and draw together at the end of each day. Make new friends in our breakout sessions. Paint with hundreds of others. Get private access to our exclusive members group to become a part of our community. And learn to take your artwork to a higher level. Realism Live is 3 full days of painting and drawing instruction, November 10th through 12th. And for people who want to learn painting and drawing from scratch, start with our Beginner's Day, 1-day atelier on November 9th. Soon you'll be painting faces, people, flowers, scenery, objects, and other subjects. You'll see your artwork improve faster as you learn from top artists and instructors from all over the world. Sign up today and join the world as we learn art together from these amazing artists. Glenn Vilppu, John Potoshanek, Alex Kelly, Ned Mueller, Terry Strickland, Dustin Van Welchel, Lisa Egley, Clyde Aspavig, Sarah Sedgwick, Rose Franson, Michelle Dunaway, Michael Midler, Daniel Graves, Leona Shanks, Alexander Shanks, Juliet Aristides, Carol Peebles, Todd M. Casey, Cornelia Hernes, Sandra Angelo, Oliver Sin, Sharon Sprung, Mario Robinson, Deborah Hughes, Xenia Gershman, and Alicia Shanks, and Karen Offit. And it's hosted by fine art connoisseur and publisher Eric Rhodes and editor-in-chief Peter Trippi. And if you can't watch live, you can watch replays on your own time for up to a year. And it's 100% guaranteed. You'll be pleasantly surprised to realize just how much you can learn in such a short time. Realism Live, from the publishers of Fine Art Connoisseur magazine. Sign up today to reserve your seat now